This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, morning. Please wait for a few minutes to start the session. If anyone is connected newly without getting registered, please provide your details, mail ID and contact number so that we can share you the recorded session along with the content and even batch starts details. So people whom are connected newly, please provide your details, mail ID and contact number. Thank you.
This conference will now be recorded.
I hope I am audible. Lakshmi or Vijaya, could you please confirm either in the chat or here that you could hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. So, Lakshmi, can I go ahead and start?
Yes, Vishwanath Garu, you please we can start. People will be joining.
Thank you very much. Sure, sure. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, everybody, once again. I'm very happy to be part of this demo session, and I look forward for all of you to make this an interactive session, and so that we can all enjoy this learning. Before I start, let me please introduce myself. I'm Vishwanath Yarasi. I've got more than 25 years IT experience. I'm a mechanical engineer in terms of qualifications. Worked in the mechanical engineering industry as well as the IT industry. So I have both the IT and the domain knowledge. So I hope to bring all that experience and passion in teaching to all of you, and hope you will be excited to be part of this course and get some knowledge out of this course. Before we start, I also want to lay down some guidelines or ground rules, if I may. Request all of you to please put your phones as well as the microphone on mute. Second, please, any question you have or any comment you have, you can please send it on the chat one-on-one to me. Or if it is meant for everybody, please do take the time to message to everybody so that people know that this is the question being asked. So what I will do is, irrespective of that, I will take down the question or comment, and if there is a need that it needs to be answered immediately, I'll try to answer it immediately, or I will note down the questions, and then towards the end of the session, maybe the last 10 minutes, I'll take some time out to read out the questions and comments, and then try to answer most of them. If not, I will try to share it through Career IT Online to be passed on to you guys. Before I start, I hope you've all got the, you're able to see the screen. If not, please flag it to the Career IT people that you're not able to see the screen. Anybody who cannot see or who cannot hear, please raise your hand or inform the organizers. So Lakshmi, I think I'm all set. So I'll go ahead and start the session. It's 10 minutes past 8 a.m. here in India.
Yes, Vishwanath, please you can go ahead. Anyway, we are going to record the session, okay? No problem.
Oh,
Thank you.
wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Let me see what I can. So this is essentially a Pythonic basic and intermediate course. I will be briefly touching on the high level or advanced topics for you to be aware of what are the other things which you would have to take care at a later stage. Let's start this journey of Python and have a Pythonic write in a Pythonic way. I'm using the terms Pythonic and a couple of times deliberately for the reason that this is one of the philosophies of Python. So there is a Pythonic way and a non-Pythonic way. So the inventor of this code and later on people who have contributed to this development of code have always tried to imbibe these values of Pythonic way into the developers so that the code can be readable. That is the most important thing in the other. So this is a high level agenda. Though it looks very short, I'll be delving very deep into each of the topics. Somebody has asked for a presenter. I don't think you need to be presenter unless you are presenting something. The course covers the introduction, the variables and types. Then we'll go a little bit more deeper into the various built-in data types and how we are going to use the programming language with the operators. And then any programming language is defined when it is able to help you in creating statements or your commands, and then those commands need to be put in a proper structured way, in a grammatical way, in a human readable way as much as possible. And then for the sake of reusability and modularity, you have to, any programming language needs to have two concepts called functions and modules and packages. So modules and packages will be used intermixed. So even though both are different, Then to delve very deep into the object-oriented philosophy of Python, we'll talk about classes. And then, like any programming language or anything, wherever you do something, you're definitely bound to make some mistakes. So you should not have a situation that you are not able to know what the problem is, and you should be able to not only recognize the problems or exceptions, you should be able to handle them in a graceful way so that the program terminates in a graceful way. That's a very important thing in any programming approach. And then we will talk about third-party libraries, which form the uh, backbone of Python, and that is what has led to Python being one of the most popular languages and widely used languages. And the other piece which shines in Python is its ability to handle text. So when you are handling text, you should be able to figure out what is that text which is there, and is there any pattern to it. So there are two concepts called regular expressions and pattern matching. And the last piece is the handling of databases. For any IT professional who needs to work, there are three important components one has to be very good at. One is at the operating system level, you should have a good command on how the operating system operates, and what are the interfaces which are available for you as a developer or an administrator or even a designer of any systems applications. How is the operating system lend itself to be used for a particular application? The second piece is that for any application to be developed, you need to have some kind of programming language. And the third most important thing is in the age of data world, where there's tons of data which is coming in, you need to be able to store data either in a database, different kinds of databases, relational or non-relational, or at least in some kind of binary files, if not flat files. So this is a very important aspect, and Python lends itself in trying to handle all these things, the operating system as well as the databases. So this is what connects the entire application. So the operating system is accessible, the databases are accessible, and you have all the constructs. The language lends itself to be able to handle the operating system and the databases, and then look at how are we going to take the user input, how are we going to take the data and run the application. So today's emphasis would be on the introduction to whet your appetite on understanding what Python is and how did it come into uh, the world, and what exactly is Python, and differences with other languages, because this is very important, because when you are learning Python as a second language, or after you've had some experience in other language, so for every developer or for every designer, this is what starts to bug. There you tend to compare Python with other languages, and then you might feel good, bad, or ugly depending upon your perspective. Then we will also delve a little bit into how we install Python. Though I would not show you the complete installation, I'll just get you started, and it's a very simple one. It's not too complicated, and I'll also help you in trying to understand the various options available for you for installing Python, and most importantly, how are you going to set up your environment for Python so that you can work. And then once you've installed Python, you should be able to use Python quickly, either through an interactive shell, or you should be able to develop simple to complex programming. And then we'll little bit on the indentation, why that is very important in writing a Python program compared to the others. This is one significant difference which stands out. And the last but not the least is that help is available in Python through various ways, either right at the command prompt, or you can get help over the web, and there are many forums which will help you. So I'll be spending a lot of time in those areas too. If you have any expectations beyond this, or you want me to delve a little bit deeper, maybe in this session or in the other sessions, please be sure, please feel free and ping me if you have any questions or anything. I'm able to time. Just give me a second. I'm trying to find how to. Okay. I don't see any comments or questions. So I'm hoping that I'm good to go.
Vishwanatha, one question here from me. This is Suresh speaking. Are you able to hear?
Yes, I can hear. Please go ahead,
Yeah.
Suresh.
Yes. My question is here in the market world in the nowadays, where Python has been used. Just
Okay.
want to understand.
Good. I'll be delving that a little bit deeper. Small request. Any such things which you think are meant for everybody, if you could put it into the chat session, it will help. I'll catch all of those things and then handle that, because we have very little time. We have got only about 40 minutes more. I can extend a little bit more. So in the interest of time, any question which you think or expectations, please just put it in the chat box and I'll pick it up and try to address that. Sure, that is going to be covered. I hope that's good for you. Okay. Let's get back to the screen. Origin of Python. I always am surprised how this language came up. Guido van Rossum, I hope I'm getting this pronunciation right, is a Dutch developer from Google. He was asked to go on vacation, Christmas, and then he couldn't keep himself quiet. So he created this language called Python. And immediately everybody thinks, what is Python as a creature, reptile creature, to do with Python, the language? It so happens that the author was a great fan of a UK serial Monty Python. So he named it after that. Just like Hadoop was named after the elephant, which was the pet for the child. So, and this is how it started. It started with Google using Python, and right from grounds up, it started off as an object-oriented language. So let's take this word or object-oriented or a couple of words with a little bit of a pinch of salt. I'll explain that a little bit more later. And one of the things which quotes important is, I'll read it verbatim and then I'll give my views about it. Python is an experiment in how much freedom programmers need. Too much freedom and nobody can read another's code. Too little and expressiveness is endangered. So this is the core philosophy of Python, or the Pythonic way. If people who have had experience with Perl, the great eccentric author Larry Wall, he had a different approach towards things. He said there are many ways to skin a cat. So you should be able to write code in whatever way you want. You should be able to express. So that's one of the key differences between this language as well as Perl. And the other one is have your cake and eat it too. That means you have to have productivity and readable code. This is very important.
Hello.
Yes,
can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hello.
I can hear you, but I think you can't hear me.
Can you hear me?
Yes, everyone able to hear.
Yeah, but I think he is not able to hear us or whatever. So Lakshmi and Vijaya, please try to resolve the problem of that gentleman who is trying to talk.
Hi everyone. If you have any queries, please try to ask at the end of the session. Okay. So the demo session continuing up to 9 o'clock. Okay. So at the end of the session, please take all the queries, Mr. Vishwanath Karu.
Sure. That's what I've been asking. So I request
please.
I request the patience of all the people who have joined, so that we can also have a good time-bound session and
Please, you
have
can
an interesting.
continue with the regular session. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So now to continue on the topic of origin, Python. It started off in February 1991, which is the first public release, though it was developed by 1989 by Gado. And Python 1.4 was the first documented release, 1996. You won't be hearing about Python 1 at all anywhere. So you can safely forget this. This is only for historical interest. Second is Python 2.0 was released 2000, and the last one in the Python 2 version is 2.7.15, and it ended at 30th April 2018. Not that it is discontinued, it is actively supported. So please do not think that it is closed. In fact, the code base of Python version 2 is far more than Python 3. Python 3 started off somewhere in 2009, and as of now, the latest one is 3.7.1. What I am using here for doing the demo here is 3.6.5, and the flavor is Anaconda. We'll talk about it a little bit deeper. So everybody, there was one question we started off and then say, why Python? Or where is it going to be used? So to address this important topic, these are the main things why, or the reasons why Python is used. No doubt all of these are the goals for every programming language, but somewhere Python shines in this particular aspect. Software quality. So because you have a Pythonic way of writing code, and so the quality is always very well maintained, and because of its rich built-in support for libraries and data structures, all the database inbuilt databases, it will help you quickly develop things. So you don't have to write huge amounts of code for building everything from scratch. So you've got a lot of built-in things which will help you to increase the developer productivity. And the most important thing, which this I think is one of the greatest one, is program portability across platforms. So you can develop Python code on any platform, be it Windows, Mac OS, or Linux, or even other mainframe, and it will run on other platforms. The only caveat is that when you're writing code, please be a little bit careful that you don't build your code very specific to the platform. An example would be Windows, because most people are familiar, or almost all are familiar with Windows. So if you want to give the path of a file and you hard code it as C drive, C colon, and all that, then the program is not portable. It breaks that rule. But there is a good way elegant way of taking care of operating system specific things, so that it still can be portable across all platforms. And then libraries. That's the main thing which has helped Python to boost the developer productivity, as well as ability to use it in applications in all areas. I mean, I don't think there is one area which is being missed out where Python is not able to do its job. Then the other ability is that in this world, there is nothing called one programming language, one database, or one operating system. You should be able to write a program which will be able to take care of, or able to integrate all these things. So you have different components. You could write your programs in C, C++, Python, Perl, or even .NET. So all of that should not go waste. So if you have developed an application which is very rich in those areas and you still want to use that, there is a very good and elegant way of that Python can handle all these things. We'll delve a little bit deeper into that. And then there is something called a personal preference. Personal preference could be that you are more comfortable with this language, or your job demands that you need to know this language. And then market needs. Market needs, as of now, Python is really growing very well in all aspects. So this is one skill definitely which you could have it under your belt, and this will go a long way. I don't see this dying soon. And here I'll take a couple of minutes to explain. There is one good thing which I see compared to the other languages which has happened. The commercial vendors have not taken over this one. It's an open source program. Once the commercial vendors take over, sometimes it so happens that they try to drive the development or the way it is to be used in a way that it can be exclusive to the others. So I talked about Python philosophy or Pythonic way right in the beginning. Another thing is that it has to be coherent. What you write should be compact, coherent, and in very easy to read, write, and maintain. So all these three things are very important. And for you to be able to move on to the next level, so keep this in mind that if you write your code which is easy to read, it's well documented and maintained, you will be able to move on to new things and not forced to support this forever. Then the other piece is the power which the language brings in terms of doing various things. And the scope, as I said, you could do great things, and there's not one application which cannot be created using Python. And most important is rapid development. This is where Python and various other languages, scripting languages as they are called, though Python is not purely a scripting language, though the term scripting language sticks to Python forever, it can be used for rapid development. And unlike the traditional scripting languages, the shell scripting, we can say, or Windows shell scripting, this is capable of handling large systems. And then you have lots of objects in Python. And as I emphasized earlier, integration is one very, very important thing. So you can integrate the existing code and you can build hybrid systems. So the next question is, what is Python? It's a scripting language. Scripting language, when people mention, the moment they'll think, oh, it's something like Windows scripting or Unix shell scripting, that you have a command line way of interacting with the operating system or any other application, be able to do something cursory or rudimentary. And then you will also have something to add on to it, a kind of a syntax, a kind of a control statements, if else while kind of thing, and be able to do something. So in that aspect, yes, Python is like that, but the power of Python is 10 times more than the traditional scripting languages. And from grounds up, it is built as an object-oriented language, though not as pure as Java, or for people who have come from the small talk world. This is not that esoteric in terms of being object-oriented. It's also an interpreted language and independent of platforms. That is the beauty of this Python. You can run it on many other operating systems. Was it a question or conversation there? So the other most important thing, it's open source. This, as I talked about, is not driven by a commercial vendor, and it's open source, but doesn't mean that there is chaos and anybody can do anything they want. No, still there is a Python Software Foundation which oversees the development of Python, and there is something called PEP, Project Enhancement Proposal. So any code which needs to be built to be used as part of Python needs to go through a rigorous process called a PEP, or PEP Enhancement Proposal, and then it is certified by the Python Software Foundation developers. And the author is given the title of Benevolent Dictator for Life. And very simple and easy grammar. And most important thing is automatic memory management. This is one thing which shines in Python. You don't have to worry about garbage collection. Now the other things is, this is where lots of things have come up, because man is very creative and they want to do lots of things. So each one would try to develop different things because the existing one doesn't meet their requirements. Somebody is not muting their phone. There's a little bit of disturbance. Request that gentleman or lady to mute their phones. Lakshmi, is there a way to mute everybody? I'm having a problem here. I think there's some running water there. But I try to ignore for now. There are 5 attendees talking. Request you to please. Thank you very much. So C Python, this is the default Python implementation or Python. All languages, all operating systems at the end are all written in C. This is very simple. Everything is written in C. Then you have got Iron Python, which is a .NET based Python implementation. This is independent of C Python, and more or less both of them are very close to each other. C Python tends to be a little bit ahead, but Iron Python and Jython, which is the Java based Python implementation, are independent ones running. And the main difference is Jython, it runs on a Java platform, so you can run it on a Java virtual machine. And similarly, .NET based implementation to run Iron Python. Then you have the PyPy, which is the Python interpreter and compiler. The goal is to convert this into something which is machine readable to improve the speed. Then you have got the stackless Python. This is the one which is used for lightweight multi-threading applications, where memory is very important and you have to have concurrent applications running or concurrent threads running. Then the active state, which is the commercial edition, and Anaconda. This is one thing, any newcomer to Python, I would strongly encourage you to start with Anaconda. There's hardly any difference or learning curve in terms of learning curve between regular Python and Anaconda, but the power which Anaconda gives you is a lot better. So finally, it's your choice. Then there are Python XY for scientific computation. Then there is something called portable Python, which you can even run from a USB. As such, Python is portable in the sense that if you put it into a particular folder, as long as that is available in the path, you can run it. But you still can have a portable Python so that you don't have to install it on any computer wherever you go. So you can run it off a USB. Then there are other things called Ruby Python, Python, then PyObject-C. Then there is WinPython, scientific Python distribution for Windows, and then PyIMSL Studio, commercial distribution for numeric analysis, but free for non-commercial use. So there's a rich flavor which is available in the Python. Python features now. Why Python shines? One, no compiling or linking. Unlike C or Java or .NET, you don't have to go through the extensive process of compiling or linking. So that will help you to develop things rapidly. No type declarations. For some, it might be a problem, but I do not see that being not being a very strongly typed language makes Python any less powerful than the other languages. For those, there was a question. All these flavors are packaged in a release. Let me see, pull this up. I missed out on the one sec. All these flavors are packaged in one release. No. So 3.7.1 is the Python release of CPython, or sorry, this one. But each one will have their own versions depending upon how far they have gone. So you won't have all the libraries which is available in the regular Python available in the others. So they are not exactly one-to-one. The other one, the big feature of Python is automatic memory management or garbage collection. You don't have to explicitly clean up your things. So at any point of time, the program feels that, okay, this variable is not being used, or it has been discontinued, it takes it out of the stack or the heap. And then object-oriented programming, this is where you can combine the power of the data as well as the logic built into an object. And since, as I said in the beginning, that you have got already lots of programs which are written or developed either in C or Java or any other language. So you should be able to embed and extend that power of that investment which has been done either in C or Java or C# or C++. And then you've got lots of classes, modules, and to handle exception and dynamic loading of C modules. This is why Python has developed a lot, especially in the data science world. All those libraries which are required to crunch large amount of data or numbers and more or less on a real-time basis, those are all developed in hardcore C. So essentially you're running a C program when you're calling this modules. NumPy module is an example which are there. And then you don't have to stop and restart. There is a way to reload your changes and run it from there. Python features, continuing on that aspect, first class object model, so very few restrictions and rules. Runtime program constructions, so you should be able to handle unforeseen needs, end user coding. And then the other piece is that you can do incremental development and testing. That's of the shell level. And there are a couple of other ways of doing it, which I'll show you. Then access to interpreter information. So whatever is happening, you will be able to look at what is happening at each point of time. You should be able to do debug. Wide portability. And then the advantage is that you can compile it to a bytecode and you can ship it. You don't have to send the source code. There are ways to do that too. And then built-in interfaces to external services, systems, tools, GUIs, persistence, databases, web-based programming, all those things. So at the simple thing, now I'll speed up a little bit in the interest of time. We're already 40 minutes into this one. I'll extend this session for 10 more minutes. So we have close to about half an hour, I think, which is good enough. Two differences between a compiled language and an interpreted. In the compiled language, the source program is taken, it's compiled, and then there is a target program or a binary executable file. Now, this binary executable file, when it is given up inputs if needed, it will take these inputs and then output it. However, in interpreted language like Perl, Python, all these things, the source program and input both go into the interpreter, and then the output is done. So what happens is, compared to a compiled program, that the interpreted language program will go through various steps and will only stop only when it finds an error. So it need not compile to the complete thing. It will just run till it completes its program, or if there is a problem, it will terminate in between. So interpreted versus compiled. Any problem in terms of speed? I got a error. Hello? Am I audible?
Yes,
Hello?
sir.
Yes.
Yeah, fine.
Sorry. Yeah, because I got a message that you might be experiencing speeds, so I was not sure. Thank you. So it's ready. Pros and cons between compile and interpreted. This is off the internet which I got it, but I thought it was a good one to take a look at it. Compiled, ready to run, but it doesn't run on all platforms. It is faster but inflexible. Source code is private. This is a very important thing. I mean, if you want to keep your IP close to your chest, then interpreted languages might be a problem. Usage of Python differences. Is this non-full screen readable for you guys? I hope. In case it is not, please flag. I'll bring it to the full screen. Where Python can be used, It can be used for numerical operations, text processing, system administration, GUI development, internet programming, database programming. So it covers everything, and including developing programming, gaming applications. It will run on motherboards, single processor motherboards like Raspberry Pi or Arduino. That is closer to the board they call. That means it should run on the processor itself. Then comparison, when you tend to compare with other languages the moment you start a language. It's slower than, definitely slower than Java, but takes lesser time to develop. And if you want to overcome that speed, you should be able to divide and conquer. So anything which needs to be speeded up can be put into either C or Python or Java, and then can be called from Python. It's definitely more readable than Perl and supports object-oriented program. I worked extensively in Perl too, though it has got a lot of power, it's got a lot of esoteric ways of doing things, but it tends to confuse a lot of people. That way, this is far more readable than Perl. Then it can include C, C++, Java, .NET, C# natively. Concise code, no compilation. So how does Python execute? So you start off by creating a Python code in a text file, and you run the text file. So assume that you have got a code called m.py. So when you run the Python on it, it creates a bytecode which is not transparent, which is behind the scenes. You don't even have to worry about this file, pyc, that is the thing which is created, and then that is sent over to the Python virtual machine. However, the program is smart enough, Python thing is smart enough that if there is a change in the code, it is rebuilt, the pyc file is rebuilt. Otherwise, it will run the pyc file immediately so that it doesn't have to do the compilation or interpretation once again. So, well, with everything which is there, you'll have definitely some limitations. They're not real limitations so that you cannot use it at all. This is only when specific use cases are there. Example is, can't build embedded systems. You can't build embedded systems. There is a little way of doing it on, at least like in Raspberry Pi and Arduino boards, where Python can be installed on those boards, and then you can run it. But it is not as small. The footprint is a little bit larger, so it cannot run embedded systems. Then real-time scenarios. So this is where C, C++ shine over other languages. There is nothing to beat C, C++ in terms of real-time scenarios. So wherever you have such a situation, sure, you should keep this in mind, and then build those real-time applications in C, C++, or C#, and or Java, and then use that one. Then interact with hardware. That's a little bit of a problem. Not that you can't interact. There are some libraries, but it's not as seamless as the embedded systems program. No multi-line commenting. So this is one thing which is a little bit of a problem. Yeah, you got to live with it. And the most biggest or the most serious issue is the global interpreter lock. So if you want to have multiple threads running, so this might have a little bit of a problem. So this is one area. And then dynamic typing, while it is advantageous in development speed, because the system doesn't know how much memory it needs to allocate, it can be a little bit, it can be a cause for slowing up the runtime speed. And the other one is too many additions, improvements, because a lot of people are developing it in different flavors. It tends to go a little bit haywire, so it is very hard to keep up with so many changes. And that comes up with the philosophy of batteries included approach. You got everything in it, but then chances for breaking running code. This is one area where everybody has to be careful that if you are including any libraries from third parties, which is not coming from the Python Software Foundation or any foundation or any organization which is truly open source, you might have a problem. The code would be developed right now, it is available for everybody, and one fine day some vendor buys that particular company, and then they say you have to pay for it, or the implementation might change, so your code which is running on the old implementation might break. So be a little bit careful when you're using third-party libraries. So to address the global interpreter lock problem, Jython and Python have workarounds to take care of this global interpreter lock and exploit multiprocessor systems. Users of Python, this was the first question which was asked. This is a very short list. Google uses extensively for search. Then App Engine development for web development framework is on there. YouTube, the video sharing service. Raspberry Pi, Dropbox, the file sharing services. BitTorrent, the file sharing and service started off with Python. National space agencies, aeronautical space agencies, Intel, Cisco, all these people use. And financial companies like JP Morgan, Chase, UBS, all these people use Python to do financial market for forecasting, because there are lots of libraries in that space, and also for genomic research, and in the molecular biology for image processing systems, Python is used extensively. This CAPTCHA which you have come across, especially when you have to authenticate yourself, that's one of the areas where image processing and Python is used extensively in CAPTCHA. Where can Python be used? Just to give again a different dimension: systems programming, portable system administration tools, internet programming. You can build a web-based application, rich web-based application. As I said, you also need to work with database. So it will work with relational or NoSQL databases. It has also got an inbuilt SQLite database, which is their rudimentary one, so that you can immediately do database. You can embed a database into your program without additional cost.
Vishwanath Karu,
yes,
sorry to interrupt you, just for a second. Hi, sorry for the interruption. A small info from my end. The batch will be starting from Monday, that is 5th November. The timings are from 6:30 a.m. IST to 7:30 a.m. IST. So if anyone is connected newly, please provide your details, mail ID and contact number, so that we can share you the details along with the content and recorded demo. Even batch starts details also. So please provide your details without forgetting. Thank you. Yeah, please, you can go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. So where can Python be used? All places, as I've already specified earlier. So we can take a quick look at this particular slide. So it can be used everywhere. So there is nothing which is limiting Python from being used anywhere, except for embedded systems or where you have multi-process systems. Those are the two areas which slightly Python is not to be thought for usage. Installing Python, okay, you have to decide whether you want to go the version 2 route or 3 route right in the beginning. If you have already there is a lot of code which is developed in version 2 which you need to support or maintain or develop, it would be good that you go the version 2 route, and if you are starting new, version 3 is the right way to go. Any code which is built in 2 is bound to fail in version 3. One of the reasons is that print statement, which was a statement in Python 2, is a function in 3. But there are some programs which will help you to migrate Python 2 code to Python 3. More or less it should work out of the box. Maybe a few things might have to be tweaked a little bit, but it should work. Then depending upon your convenience, your availability, who is this gentleman Vikram Thakur who is requesting for being a presenter? I don't think you need to be a presenter now unless you have got something to show. Okay, coming back to this one, you can choose whether you want to do Windows installation or you want to do Linux or Mac OS installation. For Windows install, you go to python.org or Anaconda, download the appropriate version which you want. They'll also allow you to download the previous versions too. If you want a very stable version which your company is using and you want to work in the same thing, you can have that. And for Linux, if you are a super user or at least you are in the sudo user group, you can do sudo apt-get install, whatever version you want, and it will do that. Then there are some people who would like to compile it from source. So you can download it, do a make and make install. For a Mac, you go to Mac version in the python.org. Then apart from installing Python, Python comes when you install CPython from python.org. There is a rudimentary IDE or integrated development environment, but then you have choices in using different kinds of IDEs. So the idle Windows Linux, that is the simplest IDE. Emacs is for people who are hardcore Emacs fans. And then VI text editor with plugins. I belong to the old school, and even though I'm using PyCharm as my IDE, at least the editor part I've embedded or included the VI plugin, so my typing speed increases, and I have the power of VI to use in the editor. Then Anaconda Jupyter, the one which is good for beginners as well as advanced users. So it runs in a browser, but it needs Anaconda installation. And the last one is Spider. Okay, I'll just show you a few of those things which I've got here. One is, this is called the PyCharm. To show you about the VI plugin, I'm using a YY to yank a file or copy a line, and then I do P. So I'm copy and pasting. So I'm not using this mouse to highlight the text and then say Control C, Control V, nothing of that. So this is PyCharm. Then I'm using this one, which is the Anaconda thing. So if you want to use this as the one, you can say 2 times 3. Shift enter, and it does that. So you can do line by line, and the good thing about that, this gets saved into one. This is Anaconda Jupyter, and then you have got Spider. This is another IDE. This is another IDE, Spider. Let it come up. Finally, it boils down to your personal preference, how you want to use it. Then the one default which comes up is, yeah. So I've got 2 versions here, 64-bit, 32-bit. So this is another one. So this comes up with the command interpreter, and you can run a file. You can create a file and run it too. So these are the different IDEs which I have on my system. So you can play with these things, and then depending upon your system power and your personal preference, you can choose whichever you want. But I would strongly recommend PyCharm. If you're on Windows, it's free. It provides a good interface. Then the other one, if you are really interested in an Anaconda distribution and you want to try out a better way of doing it and more powerful way, I would strongly recommend that you go with Anaconda Jupyter. That's the IDE which is there. And also there is one good advantage of using Anaconda Jupyter. The files which are created there are called notebooks. So if you're learning Python and you surf the internet, you will get tutorials which are created in notebooks. So you can get the entire tutorial on a notebook, and you can run line by line and see what is happening. Instead of just going through the code, you can execute the code as it is there and see what is happening. So that's a very good way to learn Python. Then references. Python homepage, that's where you should start. Python.org has got almost everything. You name it, it's got some everything. And but if you want something a little bit more basic, more detailed, there are tons of things which are available. And for people who are interested in learning the data science things, there are Kaggle, analyticsvidya.com, all of those things. And then there are lots of courses which are available in Khan Academy, Coursera.org, and some of those things which are there. So you get a lot of tutorials. So now we come to, we have talked enough. Now let's try to get something done using Python interactive shell. So here I've got the shell open, and then there is this terminal which is there. This is Python console which comes by default. So if you have a command line or anything, so here I'm saying I'm using a Unix command called which Python. It might not work in Windows, in your Windows, because that flexibility is not there. Essentially, it shows where is my Python installed. So if you want to start off Python, you hit Python. So you will get your information saying, okay, Python 3.6.5. So to start off with our simple thing, which every programming language starts, print hello world. You don't need to end that one with a semicolon. So you can do that. Or you don't even have to use the print statement. It prints that way too, both ways. So this is one way of running a Python program. Then when you want to come
Where
out
to compile, sir?
Okay, here, good question you asked. So here there is no each statement by itself is, when you say invoke the Python interpreter here, each statement is passed on directly to the interpreter, and the bytecode is created in the memory and executed through the virtual machine. So anything which runs on the interpreter, it is not saved to a file. It is not saved to a file. So this is meant for an interactive thing. You want to type out one command, you want to run it and see. You can also do a small looping also here. The only thing is, if I want to iterate to the word spam as a list, I hit after I hit enter, I need to indent it by 2 spaces and then say print X, and then I need to hit enter twice. So this is how you can write code even on a command line. So there's no file which is saved in the shell when you run it this way. So this is meant for writing small pieces of or snippets of code, not for a full-blown code. I'll show you how a full-blown code looks like. Then on Windows system, the same thing. You just say Python, provided it is in your environment variable. So if you look at environment variable on a Windows, I hope people are aware of this part in their operating system. So this is where you have the path variable, and you can see that here I've got Anaconda, and then it has got the libraries, scripts. That is where these libraries and scripts are there. So all of them should be included into your path. The other, if you are using another version, you can move this. I've got an installation of the regular Python, C Python 36. If I move this to the beginning and I restart my system, this Python version kicks in rather than Anaconda. So if you are having multiple versions like 2.x and 3.x, and if you want to use one or the other as your default, you need to change your path correspondingly. So this is something which you have to keep in mind. And I have a small thing which here I am connected to my Unix system here. I am running a Ubuntu Linux on another machine, and I've done a xterm to that. One second. just show you the Unix flavor too. Okay. So which Python? Here also I've installed Anaconda. So I can do the same thing again here, same thing, Python, and then say print hello world. It'll work. So on a Unix system or a Windows system, it is the same. This is connected to my Linux Ubuntu machine. Okay, so this is interactive shell. Then print hello world, you can do everything. 2 plus 2, you print. You don't even to execute the print statement. It will print that one. You can do assignment of variables, then print them out, and then look at this: 2 raised to the power of 8, 256. And this I will already given you this demo, this for X in span. Now this is what is called REPL. I don't know if you have heard this term, but this is one. It's in an interactive shell. What is REPL? It's a short form for read, evaluate, print, and loop. So when you're sending a statement, it reads, Python interpreter reads that, evaluates, and then prints, and again waits for your input. So that's why it's called REPL. So this is one thing which you will hear in Python. File naming conventions. The file has to be named as .py. Whatever program you create, the file's name should have no spaces. If you're in Windows, probably you come from the Windows world, files names should not contain spaces, though Windows allows it. And the second thing is, when you install Python, please ensure that you do not associate Python program with .py file right in the beginning. So this might create a problem, because if you double click a Python file in Windows, it will run and then close. You will not know what is happening. So it goes into the memory. You will see a brief flash of a black screen, the command prompt. And if the program is a very small one, it will run and you won't be able to see the output. So it's not good to run Python on Windows by double clicking a file. You have to run it in the at the command prompt. I'll show you how to do that one. Running Python scripts on a Unix system, you have to go through the extra step of making the file executable. So the simplest way is change mode plus X. That means you give executable privileges on the file for all the users. And then if /hello world.py, suppose there is a file in the directory called hello world.py. In case your current working directory is not in your path, you need to explicitly state that you need to run hello world.py from the current directory. On Windows, Python hello world.py. So you do this one, which I'll show you here in PyCharm. So I've got this hello world.py, which is essentially this file. A is equal to 20, print A, B is equal to 30, C is equal to A plus B. Then I save it. That's it. That's a text file hello world.py. Ensure that your command prompt is in the same directory. You are in the same directory where the file exists, and then you run the program Python hello world.py. That is all it is. And you can, or even on a command prompt, you can do this one. Exec. Suppose you have created a program and you are in the interpreter and you don't want to go to the command prompt and do it. You can do this exec open hello world.py .read. So essentially what it does is, this calls the built-in function called exec, which is executing a system command. Then what is it doing? This is a Python thing called open the file, and read. All of it is in one single statement. It will do that and run the same program which is there. And another piece which you can do this here. So import OS, you can do this. OS. So to explain or highlight the concept of platform independence, so you're importing OS and then print OS get CWD, so which will get current working directory. And if I do the same thing on here, import OS, so I get the Unix directory. So it is the same command. I don't have to worry about which one is there. A small other piece which is there. Yeah, import sys and platform. Import sys that platform. I hope I got my Linux. If I do this on the Windows piece, I get a Win32. Win32. So it's platform independent, and you can run commands. You can import a library within this. So I can import, just to give you an example, import NumPy. So any function which I have to use within NumPy, I can call and do that. Let me wrap up quickly a few more slides. This is very important thing called indentation. Life without braces, life's better without braces. Bruce Eckel is the author of many books, thinking in Java, thinking in C, C++. So white space is very significant in Python source code. So you have to remember this, and right in the beginning you make your choices, whether you want to use spaces or tabs. And you can also configure in your IDE depending upon whether IDE allows you, and usually most IDEs allow you, whether you want an indentation with a tab with spaces or tabs, and then you can have configure it whether you want 2 spaces per tab or 4 spaces. My personal preference is 2 spaces because the code doesn't get doesn't become too wide and not fit into the console. And new lines or blank lines are ignored, leaving certain cases. So all statements within the same block should be in the same place. So to give you an example here, for X in spam, here by default it gives that one indent print X. If I do this and I terminal, I run this again, I'm printing out one at a time. But now suppose if I don't use an indent and I run it, it will say error, indentation block. So I can use like this, but both of them should be, and the next one should start here. I in range 4. Because I use 2 spaces, it automatically takes that 2 spaces. So you have to be consistent whether it is 2 spaces or 4 spaces. But here you can do this one. You can do this as 4 spaces. That's not an issue. You can have some block in 2 spaces, some blocks in 4 spaces. It will work. But you have to be consistent in that block of code, either you stick to 2 spaces or 4 spaces or 1 tab or 2 tabs, whatever is your personal choice, but then be consistent. You can't have one with 2 spaces, one with 4 spaces. And that's why this is very important, having a block like this indentation. To highlight this a little bit more, those who have come from Python, C or Java or something, you can, this is C code and equivalent Python code. You can see this, there are 2 for loops. There's a for loop and there is an if statement here. So these are 2 different blocks and there's a nested if. In C, only for the sake of readability you indent and you use this curly braces which is required. Here you don't need curly braces, which is good or bad depending upon how you look at it. For me, what I do in even in for long code, what I do is I use this cheat method and say I use a comment and then open a brace and then again I close that one. So now I know that this block is within these 2 places. So if you have code which runs to 50, 60 lines and calls and you don't know where the block ends and where the begins, you can use this cheat mechanism. And if you're very good at VI, and most IDEs also support this one, so it will show you the matching brace, so you know where your code begins and where your code ends. So that is what it is. And then you can get help built in the within the interpreter and the shell prompt, import math and help math.sign. So there is a function called sign in math and you will get the help right away, and then you can help print. And if you want some more help, there's tons of it which is available right now, and you should start reading the python.org, this one, and FAQs. And then there are a lot of news groups which are there, Complong, Python, Twitter mailing list, and there's a beginner's guide, and the ubiquitous Google, where you get everything except for bread and butter. I think this is as far as I can go for today for the demo session, and I hope I have made you feel excited about Python in either learning it because you already are in that space and you want to learn it, or this is another new skill which you need to acquire to improve your career. And the career opportunities are very good in Python. I can personally vouch for it, and that's a skill which is in hot demand these days. So you can safely assume that this is a good career option, and Career IT is doing a very good job in bringing this one to all the users at affordable price, and you can definitely take advantage of our services through Career IT in fulfilling your learning needs. Thank you very much, and I
Vishwanath garu,
leave the floor
one
open for
query.
questions.
Yeah,
Yep,
one
go ahead.
query. Yeah. Can we use Python for framework as well? Like creating the menus, buttons, designing text boxes, like, is that
Yes,
possible?
yes. There's something called there are some widgets libraries
Mm-hmm.
like TCL/TK, which is there. You can use those libraries, and then you can do that. You can do the entire GUI framework. You
Okay,
can do the
okay.
entire GUI framework using Python. There is nothing which will limit you.
Is it only Python itself, or do we need to incorporate like TK, TCL kind
TK,
of?
yeah, there is a library which is equal to TCL TK, which is called TK GUI API. Tincter,
Mhm.
it's called TKINTR, Tincter.
Okay,
So it is available on Microsoft Windows or Mac OS, all those things. And then specifically for Windows, you have got WX Python GUI, which is a C++ library, alternate toolkit for constructing portable GUIs and Python. Then it has got WX Python. Then there is a framework for using .NET on a Unix as well as Windows kind of thing. You can do that too. Um, like the Microsoft Foundation, MFC classes, 5Win32, .NET, all these things. And then for Java-based guys, Swing and Jython, they go together. There is something called JPipe. And for the web developers, there are frameworks called Django, Flask, Parrot, lots of those things which are there. For Parrot, I'm not too sure. But Django and Flask are two important frameworks which are there and which work within the MVC framework. Hope I answered your question.
Yes, yes. And one more point, database, sir. What about database? Whether it is friendly with SQL, Oracle, or is there any big databases also?
It will support out of the box. And what is that called? Database agnostic API, where you can use the same API for connecting the relational database, whether it's Oracle, MySQL, or built-in SQLite, or you can, if you want something very very specific to the version like Oracle or MySQL, you can download the libraries which are available from those vendors to do the database programming. You can do a lot more. You can work with MongoDB, you can work with Big Data Lab, whatever Hadoop file system, all these things.
Oh,
There is
okay.
no stopping you. You got everything
Okay.
there.
Yes, 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 got it.
Plus operating system interfaces to work with the operating system, so you can work platform independent kind of thing.
Okay. Got it, sir. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, you can ask any number of questions. We got some more time. I'm more than happy to answer, unless Lakshmi has got some other thing lined up.
Yeah, I think in operating system wise and framework wise and database wise, we can use it. And business layer, we can apply the logic by using the commands and
Yes.
variables. We can use it.
Uh, since you're saying this one, let me show you one big program which I've done.
Mhm. Is it editors or which you are showing me?
This one is a IDE, integrated development.
Okay, editor. Okay.
Yeah. This is IDE.
Mhm.
This is principal component analysis which I've been doing.
Okay.
So this is something which you have to start as a good practice. So right in the beginning, you have to have lots of comments, whatever versions you have done. This is how the libraries are um, imported. The first one, import RE, get op, OS, sys, inspect operator. All these are built-in libraries which come along with this one. The other
Okay.
ones which are CSV, NumPy, Pandas are third-party libraries. Math is built-in, copy is built-in. ITER tools you have to import. This is decimal, which is part of the core Python. String, which is copy to Python. Science by stats, you can import specific things which you want, not the entire library. Then you have the flexibility of creating functions, which is called def or define. This is how you start off your program. If name equal to main, then you call your arguments. This is a good way to do it, and then you get all your options, which I'll talk about in the other classes going forward. So you try to, this is how you handle exceptions. So I'm getting all the options from the user on the command line. So this is how you call this program, whatever this file, this program name. Then you've got an input file. Either you can give the -f option or --file. Then optional arguments with or without arguments. all these things, and then you handle the errors whichever come up, and then you do this one. You can look at it, some of these ones which I've created. This is to make it portable. OS path, join, input dir, all these things, so that it is not hard coded. It is not like C colon or com slash something. So you can make it very portable by using this kind of commands in terms of creating the paths for all these things and then being able to do that. Then you've got dictionaries, lists, all these things. This is quite an involved program which takes data from an Excel file, reads it, puts it into a library, and then does all that in memory and creates those things. And lots of statistics functions which run using this particular program, pandas and numpy.
Okay, so all is using import and using that functionalities, built-in function.
Yes. Like in any other program, wherever
Okay.
you want to use the readability. So you can create your own libraries and then store them either in the that it is accessible for everyone or only for your program. You can do it both ways. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Both options are available. So whatever options which are supposed to be the common practice for reusability, for code maintainability, all of them are grounds up built into this.
Okay.
If you
But
look at this, go ahead, please.
sorry, in your course you mentioned that interfaces, right, sir? So what is that meaning, interfaces? To create the framework and then using that built-in functionalities in the framework, is that called interface or is there any other meaning?
Interface is used in different context. Interface one is the GUI interface. That's a separate thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then the other one is interfacing to programs. You've got already certain programs which you created either in C or Java or something, and you want to integrate them and you want to interact with them. That is how it is. And then the other one is how do you interact with Python through the shell interpreter. So
Okay.
the word interface is used in different contexts. But interface from a GUI perspective is different. It is used as like that, but it is essentially a screen for you to look at it or interact with the user.
Okay.
Depending upon the context.
So by using this, we can create web pages also, right?
You can create web pages, you can create standalone GUI applications, you can create games, which can run even on mobile devices.
Mobile devices, yeah. Apps also. Okay.
Yep. Any other questions?
Hi, sir. Good morning.
Yep. Good morning.
My question is, what are the third libraries we are going to discuss in this session?
Not today's session, but in the coming future sessions. Yeah. I'll be talking about all the libraries which you need to use on a day-to-day basis, briefly on like your operating system, your math functions, all those libraries. I will do a demo.
I mean to say external libraries.
External libraries, I'll show you the NumPy, the CSV file, the PDF. I can show those things too.
And also.
And database programming. So you have to have libraries for that. So I'll be using third-party libraries. MySQL library.
So this library can be discussed in our session, right?
Yes, will be discussed. It is part of the agenda. It's part of the course. You can raise your, you can jot down your expectations and share it with Career or online. All of them will be covered, but if there is anything which is being missed out, I'll take the effort to include those things to address your needs, which is meant for everybody. It's not only for you, but I'll ensure that it is covered.
And any introduction to Django, sir?
Into?
Django framework.
No. So that is not part of the course agenda.
What is that question, sir? Disangle. What is that meaning?
Django, Django. It's a
Introduction,
framework.
you know.
Yeah, I can show you. I can do. I have done some Django thing offline. Sure, I can do a 5-minute, 10 demo, 5-minute
Okay.
demo on that particular thing. It's not an issue.
At least I can create a project and try to interact with it. So at least that
Sure,
one.
sure. I have done that extensively, even interacting with a MySQL database to be able to do something. The tutorial which is there on the Django framework, I have done that. I'll show you that.
Okay. Actually, I'm from a Linux background. I need to write a lot of automation script, middleware guy. So how it is useful for me? So
You are in the right place. Python does that right out of the box and so good. You can use it and make your life very comfortable. So you don't even have to use the Unix shell scripting. You can do everything within a Python, and then if you want to automate it, you can do the cron tab, put those scripts in the cron tab and run it. You can, if you're a system administrator or an application administrator, Python is a very powerful tool which you should use to make your life easy and prevent errors, lot of reusability.
okay.
I come from the background of Perl and Python for using as an application administrator as well as system administrator. So I've used it extensively, and that is a good thing. I come from data warehouse background where you need to do a lot of file pre-processing before you do any work using any ETL tool or a reporting tool, and then archiving, all those things you can do using Python. There are built-in libraries.
Okay. Sir, one doubt here now. When we are familiar 100% Python language, how many tools are covered under DevOps, or what are all the tools covered under DevOps?
Okay, there are two different things. One is 100% coverage. I don't know what you mean by
No,
100%.
100% coverage in the sense, okay, I am some experience in Python. Just assume that 6 months of experience in Python, I have covered end-to-end functionalities, imports and all packages, how to use and scripting, automation, everything I just covered. Just assume that if I am in that position as a part of DevOps, what are all the tools covered? Uh, what are all the tools covered by using Python?
Okay. I'll try to answer that later stage. But one thing, DevOps is a different thing. DevOps is a philosophy of combining development as well as operations in one
Operational
place.
activities.
In
Yes,
one place. That's a philosophy, and there are certain tools which need to be used for
correct.
source code, for then migrating the code, running the code, building the infrastructure environment. These are different phases to it. And so wherever you have something which can be automated, where you need to do it, you can use Python, because Python will all these tools provide you an API. So any tool in the DevOps, if it provides an API for for Python to interact, or it can be called from within the operating system on a command line, you can use Python to do that. There is nothing which is stopping you. So
Okay.
if you have a source code control systems in DevOps, you're going either using the Amazon Web Services, or you're using some other third party, whatever. I work with Tortoise, or CVS. You can use CVS also if you don't want to spend money. Tortoise is another one. So, Tortoise CVM. So you can write a script to automate the check-in, check-out, code validation, all those things you can do in using Python.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it. Thank you, sir. Got it.
Similarly, for data science, you can do lots of work. Data science, more people think about statistics and trying to create models, all these things. But before you create models, there is a lot of work which you need to do in terms of parsing the data, cleansing the data, organizing the data in a format that lends itself for analysis, for a statistical analysis or any other analysis using third-party tools. So the third-party tools libraries are available in Python, and then you can use the built-in functions of Python as well as third-party libraries to massage the data, get the data, and then create the models. So one of them is the Bayesian. I have done a principal component analysis here using Python, including developing the charts. Let me see if I can pull that out right away. This is a file browser which I'm using.
Okay.
It's called ACD. Let me see if I can pull this out. Yeah. So this is a PCA graph principal component analysis.
Okay.
In descriptors. All this is done using Python.
It's kind of a framework.
Yeah. Frame again. No. This is not framework. These are libraries which are used and called from Python.
Oh, okay.
Framework does two things. At the minimum, it does two things. One is it divides the or packages the functionality into certain layers. So MVC is a framework. So in model view control, the functionality is tied. Certain functionality is tied to modeling. Certain functionality is tied to viewing. Some functionality is tied to controlling.
Yes.
So the code has to be developed in each of these framework, in each of these components. So the framework like Django or any other framework which is there will help you to organize the code into those blocks or reusable code components and then be able to run it.
Okay.
Framework is an architecture, guideline, and principles, and then to make it into the real world, you develop your framework by providing that reusable code. So you don't have to create everything from scratch.
Yes. It's kind of package that can be used
Packaged.
anywhere.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, got it, sir. Thank you so much.
So quick feedback, anything which you want to say that, okay, you at least the objectives in terms of whetting your appetite or understanding, okay, is this a good thing for you? I hope that all is met, and Career IT Online will definitely help you to go to the next step. So I hope you're enthusiastic to get into the next session, which is going to start on Monday.
Yes.
So Lakshmi, do you want to take over and then conclude, please?
Yes, Vishwanath Garu, we can start it, okay? From Monday, we can continue.
Yeah.
From